So hello everyone and welcome to our webinar today on an introduction to the Siemplify security operations platform. We're very excited to have you here today, so thank you for joining. Before we begin, I do want to let everyone know that today's session will be recorded so you can rewatch at your own convenience. And also we're going to have a Q&A at the end of this presentation. So feel free to use the Zoom control panel at the bottom of your screen to ask those questions at any point in time. So now joining me today is Daniel DeSarens, a senior security engineer at Google Cloud coming from the Siemplify acquisition. And we're really excited to have him here today to deliver the demo of the Siemplify platform. And then quickly myself, my name is Caroline and I'm on the marketing team here. I'm going to kick things off with a quick introduction to the Siemplify platform, and I'm going to moderate the Q&A at the end, but Daniel will be delivering the demo for today's presentation. So as you know, Siemplify is now a part of Google Cloud. And in line with Google's strategy, we remain fully committed to an open ecosystem, leveraging the best-in-breed solutions and supporting multi-cloud environments. So at the same time, we're also working to integrate closely with Google's cloud security portfolio, and we're trying to create a modern end-to-end SecOps suite. So this acquisition and our SOAR technology really complement Google's security portfolio. So this already includes Chronicle, VirusTotal, Security Command Center, and others. But with the benefit of scalability, maturity, and multi-cloud support, we will take our SaaS SOAR offering to a new level. So this is really transforming the way your security operations centers defend against modern threats. So now just a quick background on Siemplify. So for those who might not be familiar with us, as a company, we're rooted in security operations. As those who like to say, we were born in the SOC. So our company was founded by security operations experts who worked in a government SOC and then moved on to train dozens and dozens of both military and civilian SOCs from around the world. So they founded the company and developed Siemplify based on their experiences and everything that security operations teams need to succeed. So we are a leading security operations platform, and we're trusted by the biggest and best enterprises and MSSPs from around the world. So many Fortune 500 companies in the Gartner Magic Quadrant trust Siemplify as their platform to run their security operations day in and day out. And finally, we're designed with the customer in mind, providing the rapid to time value, flexibility, and the power to respond to cyber threats in minutes instead of hours or days. So now jumping into some of the security operation challenges that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. So every SOC has a varying maturity level and faces their own unique challenges. These are some that we find common for security operations professionals. So I'd say the first challenge is there really isn't a central platform for all of security operations professionals to manage their daily operations. So if you look at other operations in a company like sales or HR, there's typically one platform so they can work and get their work done. So for example, for sales, they could use Salesforce, or HR, they can use Workday respectively. But with security analysts, they're constantly swiveling between products and applications. So this impacts their productivity and even visibility. So this leads to the second challenge, that all the tools and security operations teams use are keeping growing and adding pace. So they're not necessarily designed to work with each other, and there isn't really connective tissue or fabric to orchestrate all these products that you would use. So this then leads to the most common security operation challenge, which is alert overload. So the average organization uses many security operations tools that often generate their own alerts. So it's really hard to kind of manage these alerts, and analysts are constantly trying to remain afloat with these constant alerts coming in. So this leads to the next challenge. There's many manual response processes, and these processes are often hard to document and are typically very manual, which means an analyst spends a lot of their time on repetitive, mundane activities. And this is a serious problem because of the global talent shortage. So we all know that cybersecurity professionals are very hard to find, which means as organizations, we should strive to focus our time on high value work and ensure the talent. So now leading on to, this is definitely a challenge. So this is where Siemplify comes in. So what sets us apart as a SOAR solution? We realize that automation is only a means to an end. At the very end of the day, SOAR is about enabling fast response at scale. So we're very far from the day where every single alert can be handled automatically. And that's why we designed this Siemplify solution to empower analysts to make good, fast decisions. For starters, we employ unique, passionate technology that can understand when alerts, even when coming from different alerting tools, are related and how we can group them together. So this ensures that a single analyst investigates a threat as opposed to several analysts chasing alerts that are really a part of the same threat. In addition, Siemplify includes customized widget-based case views that ensure the most relevant contextual information to each specific threat is readily available. So this is including any required decisions or actions required by analysts. In addition, we've also invested a lot of time into ensuring that you get fast time to value from your SOAR investment. From its packaged use cases to SOAR playbook lifecycle management capabilities, it's really easy to hit the ground running and really get effective scale playbook building and maintenance as you mature your SOAR journey. And I'd say lastly, the most often overlooked benefits is that all SOC activity is now captured from a single platform. So we've embedded business intelligence and smart dashboards to allow you to interpret this data, to drive insights for improvement, and to report key performance indicators. So now that we've done a little background on Siemplify, and you know more about that, we're going to head into the demo with Daniel. So I'm going to hand it over to him. All right, Daniel.
All right, so let me jump in here and just talk and show you what Siemplify can actually do. And I'm going to start just from that perspective of getting the data into the platform. And so initially, when we look at the information that we want to pull into Siemplify, we're looking for alerting sources. And so those alerting sources can be a variety of different things, but they're going to probably be like a SIM, maybe an EDR. It could be an email inbox, but it's going to be a source where all your alerting is happening. And then as we ingest that into Siemplify, we are going to create an alert in our solution that's going to then be processed in essence and then parsed out. And we're going to pull what we call are the entities, but the indicators out of that alert. And we're going to do that for a couple different things. One is that we're going to use that information to help with the investigation and the visualization, but we're also going to be looking for relationships within the alerts. And these entities or the indicators could be a variety of different things. They could be anything from a URL to an IP address, maybe a file hash. It could be a variety of different things that we're parsing out of those alerts. And as we're looking in Siemplify, looking for those relationships, we're going to pull them together into one single case to give you more or less the threat of that you're trying to investigate, rather than just doing like a single alert, a one-to-one, if you will. And this is going to give some additional context about what's going on. And so if we took this one case here that I'm looking at right now, the C2 traffic case, just as an example, what we're able to see here is that we have an out of working hours alert that came in that might have come from like a UBA. We had an IRC connection that would have come from some sort of a firewall, probably through the SIM. And then we also have a virus found that could have come from like your EDR solution or even come through the EDR into the SIM back into Siemplify. But the key here is that we're taking all those alerts that would have typically been separated in the products that you're working out of, and we're going to pull them in to bring the context around the actual threat that's happening. Because an out of working hours alert probably by itself wouldn't have necessarily been that interesting. I might have spent a few minutes looking at it, trying to figure out what's going on, but I may have missed some of this other stuff. And so it's really bringing that threat together so you can better understand what exactly is going on. And really just to highlight this and to help this kind of this process of understanding what's going on, we've created something that allows us to visualize those alerts in a graphical representation so that as an analyst coming in here, you can very quickly understand what's going on. And so we see here from just off the bat, we have David logging into a machine. That would be the out of working hours alert. And then from there, going external to a site that would potentially have been found to be malicious or suspicious based off of the automation that we may have ran on that. And then we have that last alert, the virus found alert that shows up here, really indicating that something happened on that endpoint. But this graph here is just giving us an easier way of understanding what exactly is happening, so that, again, that the analyst could get to the answer faster. Our goal is to increase that time to value, to increase the ability to understand and to act upon a threat as quickly as possible. And so showing information like this is one of the ways that we can do that. On top of that, as that alert comes in, a playbook is going to be automatically attached to that alert. And that playbook is going to do a variety of different things. Again, like I said already, our goal is that we're actually going to help the analyst to fast forward, in essence, the investigation, to provide them as much context as possible so that when they come in here to start to work a case, they have the information that readily available to them to make those decisions. And so if I drill into this virus found alert, just to kind of show this, one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to be gathering that information that an analyst would typically have to go and get manually. We're going to gather it all up for them and present it to them. And so a lot of times when I look at enrichment, I'm thinking through the ideas of user enrichment from maybe like an Active Directory or Azure AD or an Okta or something along that that's got some information about the user. And I might be looking for some endpoint information where I can look at the status of an endpoint, or I can look at the virus definitions that might be on it, or whatever else I would want to see about the endpoint there. And then I want to pull in some threat intelligence as well. And so with all of that combined, going into all those different tools as an analyst, the time that it takes to do all of that and gather all that data, it just takes a lot of time. And so what Siemplify does is it takes that process of gathering that information, going querying the different sources for data. It's going to take that in and it's going to automatically do that for the analyst, so that when they come into this process, when they come into this alert, this incident that they need to do the investigation on, they have information like what you see here, where I can see the CrowdStrike information that's going to show me just any information around the endpoint, whether the status is active, or if the virus definitions, I can see what sensor versions being ran here. I can see also the person that owns this machine. I could also then pull in the Active Directory information. In this case, I don't have that widget here, but that's some additional user information that can be pulled. Or I could get some MITRE information if I have the tactic ID or something along those lines. I can provide some additional details as to what this threat, the target of the threat, the description, and what I might need to do in order to remediate it. And so all of this information is being gathered up so that I then can present it to the analyst, and then allow them to make decisions. And that the same would go even into the threat intelligence. And so whether I'm querying one source or multiple sources, I can go and grab all that data, pull it all back into Siemplify, present it to my analyst, and then they could then make a decision based off of that information, like you're seeing here. And so as I work this case as an analyst, kind of switching my gears to more or less the automation into the analyst focus here, they would come in here, they work a case, it flows into Siemplify. We have the automation, the grouping that happens right off the bat, like I was just talking about. We have that case that's then created, and then they have their case queue that they can then work out of. And so when they come in here for the case queue, they may want to do some filtering of these alerts, but they're going to look for the one that they want to work first. Once they drill into that case, that's then going to start to present the threat that's happening, and they can start to analyze the information. And so they might come in here and see this overview screen at first. They might go into the graph, identify what those alerts are and what's going on here. Might look at where some of the tactics are being detected within this case. But then they're going to start to drill into these alerts to better understand what's going on. And so as I look at this information, I can very simply see relatively quickly that I may need to do something to quarantine this endpoint. And then from there, that's when this pending action section would be important, because then I can come in here and just quickly respond in a way that would make sense to the actual case that was here. So whether I wanted to actually quarantine the endpoint, whether I needed to raise this up to my manager or I need to escalate this to tier 3, whatever steps I needed to take in order to do the investigation, I could handle right here within this section here. And so whether I click yes or no or escalate, all that would be handled right here. I hit done, and then that process is done, and then they can go on to that next case. Now you might be wondering, as we work these cases, I mean, does it do some other things as far as the grouping? And the system does. It utilizes all the different alerts that are coming in, and it looks at everything that's there to find relationships. And so it could even be where I might be looking at several different phishing emails that are coming in, where I might need to see the different entities that are involved or the different people that might be working those cases. I might need to look at that. And so I could see emails that are coming in from a variety of different people. And so I could pull open those cases here, like you're seeing right within this one, this phishing email one, where I've got multiple emails coming in from multiple users, and I need to do the investigation there. Kind of focusing the analyst on the threat and making it so that not multiple analysts aren't working on a single alert. You have one analyst working all the alerts that are related to one another, and then they're able to then close that out, and we're seeing an alert reduction in that perspective, because now I didn't have 4 alerts. I actually had 1 case that the analyst was working, and they're able then to close that out and move on to the next one. And so it can provide some time savings there as well. But like you said here, I can see a lot of details around what might be necessary in order to make some decisions, whether it's the URL of the picture of the actual scan of the domain there, whether it's the Active Directory information just showing that, or the header analysis. All that information is right here at my fingertips to make a decision. And so you might be wondering, then what goes into all of this to make it work the way you see it today? And what Siemplify's goal is to make this as easy as possible. This process of building out these playbooks and getting time to value within the product itself, we wanted to make it as simple as possible. And so what we've done is we've given you a lot of the tools to do that, where I can come into my marketplace and I can use some out-of-the-box playbooks. We call them use cases. But those use cases are going to be things that you can deploy, and it's going to include a playbook and a variety of other things. So if I just opened up one of these use cases, you can see kind of what is included in there. So it may include a video just telling you about the use case, but it's also going to come in here and include those playbooks like I was just talking about. And again, we call them use cases because it's not necessarily just one playbook that you're getting within this use case. You could get multiple playbooks, or even something that we determine as a block. Those are all going to come as part of this use case. On top of that, you get integrations that are used within the use case. And so I can come in here and it's going to help install those use cases, and I get a test case as well. And so when I hit next on this and continue through the installation of this use case, it's going to install all this information. And then I can come in here and say, okay, I see these integrations. Maybe I don't have all of them. Maybe I have some more. Well, I can then come into our integration library in here, and I can then start the process of just going through and downloading any integration that I may still need. So maybe I need ATP, maybe I need the Google Chronicle, I might want to grab some VirusTotal. So I just come in here and I can search through the integrations and grab the ones that would be important to me. And then once I have that, I'm just going to download it and install it, and then I'm ready to go. And so once I have all this information, then I go into my playbook designer and I'm able to then start to build out these playbooks. And so like I said, we wanted to make this as simple as possible, this process of building these out and getting you time to value, so that as you're doing your investigation, you have the information necessary to make decisions. And so that's why we built this in a way it's more or less just a drag and drop, copy, paste, cut. You can move the things around as necessary, but it's mostly just working through the logic of what you're looking to do. And so if I come in here and I see the logic here of one of the alerts that we have, maybe I'm looking at a triaging here where we have our block. That's just a series of actions and conditions where I'm going out into VirusTotal and grabbing some data, and then going out and grabbing my MITRE information, but then making a decision whether or not this is suspicious or not suspicious. And then from there, we see the question that you saw earlier within the case is, do we want to notify the user? Do we want to quarantine the endpoint? Do we want to escalate this up? What do we want to do? And that's where we then see the actions taking place after that are going to ultimately accomplish the task that was selected. And so like I was saying, though, this is an easy process to build these out. We wanted to make it simple. So we're just taking a drag and drop approach to building this. So I'm just going to take that action that I want, drag and drop it in place, and then it's going to show up inside of my designer here as an action that would then run within that playbook. And it's as simple as that. I mean, it's just taking those actions, putting them in place, building the building blocks of this playbook. And then once I'm ready to test it, I can turn on our simulator and run it through a series of tests just to make sure the data that's coming back is the data that we expect to come back and we need to come back to make decisions. And so that really brings us back into the case a little bit. So once we have this information and once we have this playbook built out, that's when the case really then starts to make sense. Because now I have our case here that's pulling all this data back, it's presenting it back to the analysts, and then you can see where these actions that are taking place. And as I respond to them, they're correlating with the playbook. They're making decisions within the playbook that ultimately affect the outcome of that playbook. So whether it's response actions that I'm running, whether it's actions going into my ITSM, creating cases, whether I'm disabling accounts, all of those things can take place within a playbook, and I can make decisions based off of those, but I can include the entire process. And so as we look at the processes that you want to implement within your organization, within the SOAR solution, I look at how you guys handle cases today. And then we look at that and we match that up into a process within Siemplify, whether manual actions, whether I'm adding instructions, whether I'm doing automated actions, all of that can be included within my process so that we have an easy to follow step-by-step process that takes place within the case that then ultimately leads to the point of a closure of a case and a remediation. And that's where the playbook comes into play. And we can see that playbook here, and we can walk through that as we kind of understand what's going on here. And the analyst can then work through that. And so that's a portion of what you can see there as far as working those cases as an analyst and kind of taking those from end to end from the perspective of getting that case into Siemplify, the alerts flowing in, they're getting grouped together into a single case. It's creating the alert inside the case inside Siemplify, and the analyst then is coming in here and working those cases based off of a criteria that they may have defined. And then they're going to just look at the data, understand what's going on, make decisions, ultimately getting to the point of closure. And that's really our goal here. And so with all that being said, ultimately, one of the things that is necessary as part of this process is really the idea of just giving an overview perspective of what's actually going on. How many cases have I closed? And answering some of these questions that may come up is how are we doing in essence? And that can take place within our dashboards and reports. And so as we look at our dashboards and reports, these are going to be things that are going to be able to show us what exactly or how many cases do we have coming in? What does that alert look like? What is the, how many products do we have coming in? So we can start to look at this information here, and we can even sort based off of time a little bit more here if we wanted to. So extend that time out, maybe look at some more information here, but we can look at a lot of data around what's going on. Look at those top alerting products and how many cases, maybe how many of those were incidents over the past 6 months. Or if we wanted to change that to the past 24 hours, we could do that as well. But looking at this data from an overview perspective to understand how are we doing. And then if I needed to look at some additional information around the dashboards, whether that is some playbook information or whatever else that might be, I can certainly switch into some other dashboards that are just going to give us that same basic thing, giving us that overview perspective of what's going on in the Siemplify solution. And on top of dashboards, we also then have our reporting module that just gives you that ability to utilize our advanced reports to show a lot of detail around what's going on. So whether I'm looking at just a monthly report and I want to see how many alerts we had versus maybe what tools were being used, I could certainly start to drill into this information. And it's just going to give you a very clean design of just understanding trends and the data that's being presented within Siemplify. And this is giving you the report or the PDF or the thing that's necessary just to go with maybe even to upper management, but it's giving you a little bit more detail around the information that's being collected within Siemplify. And so all that's being shown here and given to you that allows you to really take that take the investigations and get to the answers faster, but also kind of reduce the time that it takes to do all this. When we start to kind of look at how long is it taking us to create reports, or how long is it taking us to analyze and get all that data to make decisions, that takes a lot of time, and so we're really saving you a lot there. And so I want to dive into one more thing as we kind of wrap up here, and that is our command center module. And the command center module really allows me to take a process of things that we are looking at today, and all the alerts that we have coming in to Siemplify, and automating the tasks and everything that's going on inside Siemplify, and then be able to take it and move it into a space where I can start to manage a bit more of the process that would more or less include people, and going out and grabbing evidence, and doing status assessments, and things that would require additional people to get involved. And that really is our command center module. And so as my alerts come in, and as I may see something that might be interesting and may need to be escalated to the point where I'm including maybe my CTO, my CISO, the people that would be working a case alongside of us, I can take a case like this and then transfer it into command center. Just with a point and click, I can just move that right into command center. And then as I move it into command center, it then becomes available for me to add some description. What's going on? What's the severity of the incident? What kind of risks are involved, or stuff like that. It just gives me the ability to identify some things that are going on within this incident, and then move into the workspace to actually start to manage that. Whether I'm doing a status assessment to identify what is kind of going on within this case, or if I'm just assigning tasks to individuals, all of that can be managed here. And I like to kind of look at it like this idea that, like, we a lot of times when we have an incident that shows up, we're opening up a Zoom call that's open for 24, 48 hours, whatever, and we're joining that, giving our updates, and we're adding the evidence and email, and so everything is kind of all over the place. And what Siemplify's command center is allowing us to do is really to bring all that together into one spot, where I can assign my tasks, I can do my status updates, I can provide the evidence and make decisions and facts and all those different things, but it's all being managed right here within Siemplify. So when I get to the end of an incident, when I get to the end of working this specific case, I can then come to it and everything's right here. I'm not having to go to my email and to my Teams or the products that we're using to collaborate. I can just come into here. It's all right here. And all I need to do is just come over here and do my incident report, and then manage it all from here. And I mentioned that idea of collaboration with other people, maybe outside of the SOC or outside of the security team. And that's something that can be managed within Command Center. I can just come in here and manage the managed collaborators, and just hit there and add some additional people if I needed to, whether it be my executives, or if it might be some legal or HR, whoever might need to be a part of these incidents. I could add them in here, and then they can be a part of this, and they're getting access to this incident. Not necessarily, they're not getting access to the entire product, they're just getting access to this one incident that allows them to come in here and work the case alongside of you guys. And so yeah, that's a brief picture of what Siemplify can do, and a lot of what you guys might be running into. To kind of just reiterate just quickly, is that our goal is to allow you to get to cases and to get to the remediation faster. And so the way that we can do that and help you get there is just by automating these processes and the steps to get there, by getting the enrichment for you, making decisions, allowing you to respond in a way that makes sense, because it's something that's been put into the workflow, and to then document those processes throughout the entire thing. And so with that, I think we'll pause for some questions. And so I know that we might have a few, and so we'll do that next.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Daniel. This is great. And we do have some questions that have come in through the Q&A feature on the Zoom control panel. So I'm going to start out with the first question. And they want to know more about what does it take to create what does it take for an integration to be published in the Siemplify marketplace?
Yeah, so in order to get to create an integration into the Siemplify marketplace, to publish it, and may need a little bit of clarity there, but I think I'll answer in this way. There is an IDE that's available inside of Siemplify that you can come into and write your integration. And this is one of the ways that you can write it. It supports Python, and so that's the way that you would write it. And you can see even all of the code that's here available from our integrations, and so you can use those. So that is one way that you can write the integration, and then there are community supported published integrations as well, and that would just be working with our team here to get that published.
Okay, great. And another question that came in is, how can a new and customized report and/or dashboard be created? So kind of going off this as well.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So dashboards are configurable. I mean, so you can come in here and create new ones. So you can see right there is a create new dashboard. And all I would do is once I hit create new dashboard, I then would have a blank canvas to work with, and I can start to click on this button and start to add the widgets. And so the widgets are what you're seeing here. And that's the way to create a new customized dashboard. And ultimately, these can be shared as well. So you don't have to, this could be just for yourself, or it could be for your team. It could be for whoever you'd like to see it. You can share it with them. So that's how you could create one of these. And then inside of reports, there'd be a creator that you can go into and start to customize those reports as well. The same basic concept is that I can go into the reporting module that we have to create those reports. And then you just start to build it out, and you have access to the data that's available within the cases. And you can start to look at time to value, like your mean time to remediation. You can start to look at trends over time, like I showed you, but there's a lot that you can do with that. It's a very sophisticated reporting tool.
Thank you. There's actually a follow-up question that came up regarding the dashboards and reports. Is it possible to create new widgets?
So widgets inside of this screen here are predefined for you in that case to give you the best information that we think is possible within the widgets there. But inside your reporting module, there is the possibility to customize those.
Okay, and now a lot of questions today. Another question that came up is regarding our integrations. How many integrations do we have by default?
That's a good question, and it's a tough question to answer because it's something that always is changing. So I think we're over 300 at this point. I don't know the exact number. We're probably even getting closer to 350, but some integrations get released on a weekly basis, and so it's tough to keep an accurate count on that. But yeah, it's over 300.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to close it out with one more question. And I want to ask, does Siemplify have role-based access control?
Yes, Siemplify does have role-based access, and you can do a couple different things with it. And I'll probably touch on one other question that might come up, and it's the multi-tenancy piece to Siemplify as well. Is that you can not only assign an individual to a specific environment or a customer, but you also can assign an individual or an analyst to a specific role, which gives them access to only specific cases. And so there's quite a bit of flexibility within the role-based access that we have that gives you the ability to give people access to what they need to see.
Well, great. Thank you so much. I'm going to close it out with just one more slide. So I'm going to bring the slides back up to talk about so now more on our Siemplify community. So we just want to let everyone know that here at Siemplify, we do have a free community edition of our platform, and it basically enables you to have the full power of managing security operations from a single platform in your own environment. And so you can really hit the ground running. You can be building playbooks, integrating your tools, and responding to security alerts within this free community edition. So in addition to trying out SOAR for the first time, you also get access to our Slack community. So you can join a group of security operations experts from around the world and communicate them through there. So if you would like to join this Siemplify community, you just need to visit siemplify.co/community, and you can download it and gain access to the community now. So I want to thank you all so much for joining us today. And if you do have additional questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. And thank you so much again for joining. And thank you, Daniel, for the great demo.
Yep, no problem.